Hi everyone, I'm Kirill, I'm co-founder of MKDev, and this is the last video of 2023. The year comes to an end, and I thought that's a great opportunity to give some kind of a top 2023 things that I found amusing, interesting, or the ones that changed the way I work in the last 12 months. So without further ado, let's get to the top 6 things, tools, books, events that were the most impactful to the world and to my productivity in the last year. Number one, of course, is AI. So AI is nothing new. Uh, we had machine learning and AI tools for many, many years, but really it all changed significantly for majority of population in the end of 2022 when ChatGPT was released. And that's also the moment when it started changing the way I work more and more. I don't remember any other things that managed to basically really impact my day-to-day work in such a big way in such a short period of time from the last 5-10 years maybe. So it's incredible how Gen AI, LLMs, and all of those tools just changed everything really. I use ChatGPT to write text. I use it to generate diagrams. It helps me with writing my posts. I have like a plugin in Obsidian to write articles. I use DALL-E 3 inside GPT to create all the covers for our YouTube channel in the last 7 months. I use GitHub Copilot to write code. It's just irreplaceable to create a small Python script. It sucks for DevOps actually for now, but to create Bash script or Python script, to create a CLI command, to create tests for the application, it's just insane. Like the productivity gain here is real, and yeah, it's with our whole MKDev basically uses AI, and it's crazy for me because it's not just something only I use, only Pablo use. Actually, also all the non-technical people in the company use it on the day-to-day basis. So AI is huge. It's not new, but I think 2023 was this transformative year when it really became part of the daily business for us. And we have lots of episodes now, podcasts just about this. Pablo likes to talk about AI, Leo as well. Me, not so much because we talk about it so much. But I have to admit, number one thing this year is AI for the planet, for humanity, and for me personally. Number two, way more than AI. It's called Granted. Granted is a little CLI tool that makes it easy to log into AWS accounts. So you just type in your terminal assume and name of the AWS profile, and it gives you short-lived credentials for this terminal session. You write -c name of the profile. It opens for you a new isolated tab in Firefox or a new Chrome window or Safari, things like these three browsers supported, logged in into this particular Amazon account with those particular permissions that you want. And that's just irreplaceable for me personally. I work with lots of clients primarily with AWS. I have lots of AWS accounts I work with, and I need to do it in a secure fashion with AWS SSO, Identity Center, whatnot. And I need a productive, quick way to log in into all of those accounts. And Granted is this tool that just saved me probably hours in 2023 in logging in to AWS accounts and being productive when using multiple accounts at the same time. The third one in my list is way bigger, and let's call it a book recommendation. So I read a book this summer. It's called Chipor. I have it here, and that's the history of semiconductor industry from the end of 50s till now. The book is relatively new. I think it's been released basically this year, or well, it says here 2022. So again, not this talk is not about things that appeared in 2023. It's about things that had impact on me in 2023. So book is from 2022. It's about the history of semiconductors. It explains all the way from this first big wafers of silicon to extremely tiny transistors we have today. And it explains really well how humanity spent a couple of decades to get to the new lithography process to get sub 4 nanometers processors or semiconductors. And that impacted me especially a lot this year because as soon as I finished reading this book, Apple announced a new iPhone chips that are the first mass-produced sub 4 nanometer process chips out there. Then they released M3 laptops with the same process, and then now other companies as well release this extremely tiny 3 nanometer processors, semiconductors, and that's just insane when you understand how complex this whole process is. And again, I can't recommend enough this book because it's just mind-blowing, this whole history. It will not change your day-to-day work, but it will completely change your perception and understanding of the modern IT world and of the modern world in general, also like from political side, many things that happen. Going forward, the thing number 4 is Visual Studio Code. I started using Visual Studio Code around March this year because of the GitHub Copilot, because I use it daily for writing code with the help of AI. And it's a rare case when we, like developers, engineers, DevOps engineers, people who write code in any capacity, change our code editors. We usually pick it like 20 years ago and then we stick with it for many, many years. And maybe once every 10 years we change it. And that's what happened for me this year. I've been using Vim with some plugins, and I have a video on the channel explaining my Vim setup and terminal setup. And I had this setup for 8 years. And this year I changed to VS Code. I still have my Vim setup ready for me when I need to quickly modify something. But in 95% of cases, I just use Visual Studio Code. First, because of the GitHub Copilot, but now also because of all of the other extensions and useful capabilities it has, like the Git Lens plugin, the Kubernetes plugin, integration with Docker. All of this is just, it's not an IDE, but all these extensions plus Copilot make it an IDE, and they make it an IDE that is fast, works anywhere, does not consume all the resources. It's smooth, it does not lag, it's just beautiful. And the next one in the list is closely connected to Visual Studio Code, and it's GitHub Codespaces. So virtual dev environments is nothing new. We had them for many, many years. I've been using different versions of like Citrix virtual desktops for enterprise customers for like last 8 years probably. And Cloud9 also appeared like more than 5 years ago, the tools that Amazon acquired. So idea is not new.
Do you think your project infrastructure is well set and maintained? We know for sure there is always room for improvement. If you are uncertain where to begin, let's first do an audit of what you already have. We will review your setup from every angle: performance, cost, security, high availability, automation, and provide you with a detailed roadmap of which direction your infrastructure should go. Generate concrete tasks for you to implement, or even take on your infra entirely, if you let us, of course.
The concept is not new. The implementation really is also not so new. You could also have this dev environments in your browser for like some years ago. But as always, the user experience changes everything. It's like containers and Docker, and it's in GitHub Codespaces. And dev environments, they have kind of the same impact. In terms of that, yes, we had this before, but now it's so tightly integrated into GitHub, and almost everyone uses GitHub. And now GitLab actually released a similar tool inside gitlab.com. So because it's now so tightly integrated in the development process, it's something that I think more and more people will use. And I used it this year for a couple of customers and for internal use cases at MKDev, including crazy things like I can just open CodeSpace in Safari on my iPhone, and it works because Visual Studio Code works in any browser. You don't need to really install Visual Studio Code. It's just, I think like in Electron, it's completely web implemented, so it works in any browser. And I remember I had some last minute rollouts happening with like holding telephone in my hands with the Visual Studio Code in Safari on my iPhone and running some commands there, which was amazing from the user experience part. And finally, number 6 is something that has to do with front-end development. That's something that most likely none of MKDev audience is even interested in, because we are about DevOps consulting and cloud and Kubernetes and AI, data engineering, but not about front-end. Backend development, as a topic, for sure we help with this. Front-end, we don't really touch. But it so happens that we have some of our own products like Claymore, Transcripto, and the website mkdev.me, where you can read about the services we offer to companies. And they're all written in Ruby on Rails. And I've struggled for a long time because I'm kind of like at the head of the product development MKDev. And it's been a struggle with the front-end part for many, many years because we had this Webpacker, Node.js, we had this asset compilation, this transpiling. And now with import maps and the new Hotwire, all of this is just gone. This whole level of complexity that really slowed me personally down because I'm a front-end developer, it's gone. With Hotwire, with Turbo, it's really just simple helpers in the Rails code, and not only Rails, like you can do it with like PHP, Java, whatever. Just Hotwire is not Rails specific; it's just coming from Rails ecosystem and most popular in Rails. And this whole stack, I just recommend you to take a look at it. The idea is simple. It's instead of writing lots of JavaScript, you have server-side rendering and the library on the front end that basically replaces correct parts at the correct time, including WebSocket-based updates. So you add a one line in your HTML like turbo stream broadcast or whatever, like turbo stream, and then in your backend code you say broadcast, and then this update just is being broadcasted to the front end without you writing any front end code, any JavaScript. That on top with Tailwind CSS was another big one for me for front end development. Those two things, Hotwire and Tailwind CSS, made me like front-end development again. And we are slowly transitioning all of MKDev's product suite to this setup, just because, yeah, we don't need to have dedicated front-end developer. Anyone can just really contribute to front-end part because it's just so joyful to do it. It really brings joy to work with the front-end part again with Tailwind and Hotwire, primarily with Hotwire, but Tailwind is also great. So that's it. Just these 6 things. For sure, there were many, many other things that happened. There is an episode of our podcast, DevOps Accents, that where Pablo and Leo and myself, we share our review of 2023, how we did as a company, how the world did, like with the AI layoffs and chips, or all the global topics we discussed it there. And in this video, I just want to share my personal top 6 because why not? It's little things that change our day-to-day work, and I wanted to share with you some of those little things. And that's it for this video. That's it for the videos in 2023. Thanks a lot for watching our videos. Probably thanks for being subscribed to our newsletter. If not, please do. It's bi-weekly. It's pretty short and useful. And yeah, thanks for everything. Check out our podcast. This year podcast was just skyrocketed because we had so many amazing guests from so many different companies on so many different topics that it's the best year for the podcast as well. It's the second year we do podcast. Once we started having guests, we got a whole new level of content over there. Useful if you're interested in anything DevOps. And looking forward to what we'll be able to achieve in 2024 and share with you.
There are no challenges that we couldn't overcome. Whether it is immediate infrastructure problems or planning a future project, we won't simply answer your questions. We become a part of your team to help you complete the mission. Our solutions consider the interests of your business and the combined expertise of the industry, as our staff is made up of more than a dozen experts in different areas who share decades of field-tested experience and knowledge with you.